All right, so my thoughts on last night's Monday Night Raw. Look, obviously the big challenge for them was to deliver a satisfying payoff to the world title match between Bobby Lashley and The Miz. And then, that was it, right? I mean, the entire show was going to be judged by how that got paid off. And then the other thing they needed to do was to pay it off in such a way that it felt like a big deal. And I thought they did that. So, starting off, saying that the match was going to happen at 9 o'clock, then, the Miz having the quote unquote stomach problems to get out of it then. And then at 10 o'clock, he just takes off running and gets counted out. And then they finally have the match around like 10:45. So yeah, I mean it was perfectly befitting of the Miz as a character. So from that standpoint, it fit. That I mean he's a cheating weasel, right? So him doing everything he possibly could to get out of the match until finally getting stuck in a situation he couldn't escape was perfect. And they played it out over the course of the 3 hours. And then the final payoff with him just getting killed by Bobby at the end was the perfect ending. Now, I said on Twitter that I would have been fine with them, having some type of screwy finish and The Miz keeping the title until Fastlane. But, I was in the minority on that opinion. And actually, the way they did it, I thought was perfect. So, yeah, look, you can't ask for better, just a 3 hour narrative from start to finish than what they did. All right, you're not going to get better than that because it just encapsulated everything with the characters of The Miz and Bobby Lashley and MVP, and also even Shane McMahon and Adam Pearce as the management people. Basically, keep trying to keep The Miz in place. And then also, they did some things to throw some doubt into it. The opening segment with, Miz and Morrison with Drew McIntyre kind of laid the possibility that Drew might get involved later because remember, Drew still has issue with Bobby. So Drew getting involved in the match and, screwing Bobby out of the title was definitely on the table and would have made sense. And then also later on, they had the thing with Braun, with, Shane McMahon and Adam Pearce. And now, so there was a possibility of Braun getting involved because he's pissed off at Shane McMahon. So they did things in there to create doubt along the way, which was important because, look, that's one of the tricky parts now with wrestling booking is that, you have is creating some doubt or dread about a different outcome without losing people because, unfortunately, so many people now, at the slightest hint of that they may not get what will make them happy at the end, a lot of people just get mad and even bail. So, putting some doubt into the situation to keep people watching is something that it's a real tricky thing to do now. And they did that. So, because at various points along the way, I still thought that, Drew McIntyre might get involved. And then at one point they panned over to Braun during the final match. And it was briefly, but, that's the kind of just hinting that, he might do something. So that they did all the things they needed to do to make for a great story in one night of TV. They did, and I think they should get credit for that. And you know what? No, you can't do that every week. It's impossible to do that every week, especially a 3 hour show. All right. And I mean that they do, on SmackDown they do hit it more often, but doing another 3 hour show is pretty damn hard. To do it every week, it's an impossible task. But this is the best that they've done with an episode of Monday Night Raw, and on that front in a good while. So hats off to them. Congratulations to Bobby Lashley for finally, after 16 years, getting the WWE World Championship. And, congratulations to everyone who played a role along the way. From, number one is MVP. And then, I'd even go back to Leo Rush, because that was, when Bobby was kind of dead in the water after that awful thing with Sami Zayn, and him being paired up with Leo was the start of the turnaround, and they had a nice little thing going for a bit, and then that ended, and then he was kind of in limbo for a while again, but then MVP got there and got hold of him, and they finished the job. So hats off to Bobby, hats off to MVP, hats off to Leo Rush. Hats off to the creative folks who did not just give up on it, right? They kept trying things and kept doing things with Bobby until they finally hit pay dirt. So everybody involved, get some pat on the back here. As far as going forward, personally, I hope Bobby keeps it past WrestleMania. I think there's some, there's something to be said for having, Drew have to chase it for a little bit and not just get it right back the way he did with Randy Orton. Like we've seen that movie with him and Randy, him getting it back 2 weeks later or whatever. And I think there's some, there's some juice there with Bobby getting some defenses in and, beating some people so that when he finally does lose, it'll mean that much more. And that's just my 2 cents for this week.